It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's our goal. Hey, it's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa. I am Tom Papa. Thank you so much for joining us at the table once again. We have an amazing guest, Maz Jobrani. Very funny comedian, good friend. He's going to come on and give us lots of good stories about all the food that he grew up with and is eating right now. And he is also the recipient of one of our glorious, glorious breads. I would like to thank two of our sponsors for today's show, the good people at Laithwaite's. You know how some people just seem to know about wine and they just always seem to be showing up at your house with some interesting bottle, always seems suave and knowledgeable, and always turn you on to the best wines. Well, maybe their secret is Laithwaite's. Laithwaite's. Now you can be that person at the party. Just text Papa, P-A-P-A, to 64,000, and you'll get 6 amazing bottles of wine, plus 2 bonus bottles, and 2 stemless wine glasses for only $49.99 plus tax with free delivery. Text PAPA, P-A-P-A, to 64,000. Terms apply. I mean, 6 bottles of wine plus 2 bonus bottles for $49.99. Come on, you know how much wine costs. This is a really exciting company. Thank you for being on board, our good friends at Laithwaite. Also like to thank Scribd. This is Scribd, S-C-R-I-B-D. They are kind of like a streaming service for books. They give you thousands, millions of ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, and more. Automated suggestions and hand-curated picks, making choosing your next book easier than ever. You ever sit there and you're wondering what you should read and what you should listen to? Well, now you've got a deal. Go to try.scribd.com/papa for your 60-day free trial. That's try.scribd, SCRIBD.com/papa to get 60 days of Scribd for free. And what will you find on Scribd? Oh, a couple books by a certain friend of yours named Tom Papa. Oh yeah, my books are on there. How exciting is that? So thank you for joining us again, everybody. Thank you for tuning in each week here on Breaking Bread. I thank you for all of your comments. Thank you for your input, and thank you for showing up also at the live shows. I am out on tour on the family reunion tour. We just did Boise and Spokane, and they were great shows. Great to be out there seeing people in these nice theaters. People are safe. People are vaxxing up and putting their masks on and going out and enjoying their lives and showing up at the shows. And I want to thank you for that. And also thank you for showing up with baked bread. In both spots, I got amazing loaves of bread baked by good people in both cities. And I have to say, it's a joy. First of all, these breads were insanely good. I know it's a little weird maybe to be getting baked goods from people you don't know, but I figure if you're listening to this podcast, your intentions are good, right? I have to imagine if you would have to be really a different level of evil to listen to the Breaking Bread podcast and then learn how to bake bread and then actually bake the bread, sync it up with the tour. That can only come from a place of love. You'd have to be an evil genius. I would have to be much more powerful for you to spend that much time to get to me. And I will admit, I give my opening act the first bite, and if they survive, but really great. And this one loaf of bread in Boise, forget the name of the family. I probably shouldn't mention it on air anyway, but I brought it back to my hotel room, and it was in a beautiful bag and a beautiful gift. And I wasn't even going to be in the hotel that long because I had one of those early bust outs at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I woke up. I had totally forgot that I'd been given this bread. The room was just filled with the smell of bread. I was like, oh, this is why this has become an obsession of mine. This is why I've been baking bread for so long, because now I am experiencing what everybody else does. I didn't have to bake it. I didn't have to go and spend all these days and all these hours making it. I just wake up like my family does to the smell in the house of this fresh baked bread. It was a really nice way to wake up. And it's kind of weird that you're taking a big bite out of this loaf of bread on your way to the airport at 6 o'clock in the morning, but it was worth it. So thank you for showing up with all that stuff. And keep your comments coming too. If you can give me suggestions, if you look at my family reunion tour, if I'm coming to your city or a town that you know really well, give me the information of the really good bake shops in your area, because I do make a point to go and visit them. There are so many great artisan bread bakers and just bakeries in general. It doesn't have to be all bread. It could be just a great coffee shop that sells these great pastries. It could be a great place that just has a cool breakfast. Whatever it is, I'm not one to get to a town and just eat out of the gas station. If I have enough time, and it doesn't need to be that much time, I am going and seeking out the good spots and meeting the people that are making it, and it just adds to everything. That being said, coming off of tour, I got home I had literally a 6 a.m. flight. One of those, you get home from your show and you're done at midnight, and then you're getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, heading to the airport. But I still, because it was coming home on a Sunday, all I need is a friend or a family member coming over to visit, and I will be spending my Sunday cooking, even if it means I'm exhausted. I've got some tricks. I do TM. I know how to put some more fuel in the tank. And I have my good friend, Erin Foley, very funny comedian. She's been on a Quick Bite on this program. She came with her girlfriend, and I made a huge Italian meal. And man, I'm telling you, I haven't had the version of coming off the road and doing that in quite some time. It was pretty great, and I really have to say, nailed it. Throw on some Dean Martin, this big baked ziti with olives and Gruyere cheese and garlic bread and big giant salad and huge plate of sausage and peppers, and then a ciambella, which this is a good thing, and this is what this whole story is leading to. You've seen on my YouTube channels my making of the ciambella, that grandmother's cake. We've talked about it. Here's the thing. You bake an apple pie like once in a while, and then you show up at Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving rolls around, and you haven't made one in a year, and you got to try and put it together and be really good at it. Next to impossible. I've been cranking out these ciambellas. This is probably the 6th one I've done in 6 months. For the filming, for guests, for fun, just learning how to do it. I can make that thing. I need the measurements, but I can make that thing practically with my eyes closed. And now I'm able to make this perfect Italian dessert that I can make this whole meal and bake that. It used to be that it would be a whole day just to make a ciambella, and flour all over the place, stuff falling on the dogs. Now it's gotten so easy because of practice. And that is the same thing with the bread baking, is the same thing with anything that you bake. Just get a couple things and just get really good at it. And then when it's go time and you want to do it, you're not learning as you go. You've already learned. Now you're perfecting, and you will be popular and beloved. Especially now that the fall is coming and it's getting darker. We can start moving into all of those different kind of dishes and start making your attempts at your early pies and your soups and all the rest of it, and throw on something hilarious, listen to a great podcast perhaps, and get busy. All right, so we have Maz Jobrani coming up. great guy. I really love Maz. We've been friends for a long time. We always end up on similar shows because we always talk about our families and work pretty clean but super, super funny. Maz, not myself. He is such a great guy. I always love his perspective, and grew up in a Persian household, an Iranian family, and I mean, some of the best dishes that I've had have come from my friends who have great Iranian mother cooks. Having that culture, having that kind of family heritage of like that second nature, big dramatic rice dishes and stuff, it's just a treat. And Maz is a treat. He's so damn funny. Make sure you check him out on social media, Maz Jobrani. He's just one of my best, most delightful comedy friends. So enjoy this conversation with my good friend Maz Jobrani. Yes, no, I baked this for you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, and thank you so much for being here. You're one of my favorite people. You know that. And I was literally doing the radio show this morning, and we had David Cross on, and this DJ Wonder from SiriusXM, and Judy Gold. So it's a pretty packed show with guests.
Yeah.
But I knew the timing because we moved up an hour.
Yeah.
This is my whole life. I moved up an hour, so I'm like, I've got to proof this bread overnight so I can shape it at 7 a.m. and then get a couple hours in. And I know it's just going to fall where I'm going to have to be baking this in an hour in 3 segments during the radio show. So literally, as David Cross is like, yeah, I'm promoting my thing. And I'm like, all right, great. Thank you for having me. I got to go. You're a great guy, but I just kept wrapping shit up to go and make sure that the bread was taken care of.
Isn't it? It's crazy because, first of all, you're one of my favorite people too, and I appreciate you having me on the show. And I appreciate you even more. I didn't know that this was actual bread until I touched it, and I go, holy moly, this is amazing bread. Now, my instinct is to cut into it and just start eating it, but then, we have families, and how happy will they be when I show up with a loaf of bread? Is this to go as well?
This is to go. There's a bag.
Oh my God.
I have a bag for you.
This is the best podcast I've done in a long time.
I was thinking about that when I was getting out of the car. And I literally have a bag of stuff. I've got like waters, I've got wine just in case, and I've got some Italian candies I want to turn you on to.
Great.
And I'm like, what other podcast walks in with like bags of groceries? I'm like, but this is, I don't want to just go talk to somebody. We should be kind of celebrating.
I think it's fantastic. And I mean, we've been doing Zoom. So I told you, mine's been on Zoom, so that I'm not getting you anything. But even when you would go to do podcasts, sometimes I give you a mug or something.
Right.
This is other level. You put some time into this. I really 100%. Appreciate this. And interestingly enough, because as you tell me your schedule, I'm thinking about how, I've hired this guy to help me with my social media, and I thought it was great. So the guy's going to run the Instagram or whatever, and he's been doing a great job.
Yeah.
But the problem becomes he'll hit me up and be like, "We need more material. We need new material. You got to do a video. You got to do a dance video. You got to." So now I'm going like, "Oh my God, I got to find time to do my dance video." And in the middle of all this, you and I think, are the same. We're trying to be involved. We're doing our comedy. We're doing our podcast. We're doing our weather shows. But we're also trying to be involved parents and husbands.
Right, exactly.
That's a whole other...
Yeah. How old are your kids?
My son's 13 and my daughter's 10.
Right. So they probably would be amused that you're making videos for social media, or would they be like, no, my kids are like at the age, they're a little older, they're 16 and 19. So when they see me talking to the camera, it's a cringy moment for them.
Well, it's not that it's so much cringy, but it's like my son is 13 and he's really kind of getting into that world. My daughter's amazing with it. She would take my Instagram stories, which is 15 seconds, and I'd be like, hey guys, hey, what a hot day at the tennis courts. And she'd be like, give me that. And then she would bring up some stickers, and then the lights would change, and all of a sudden I go, whoa, this is much better. She would pimp my post, basically.
Yeah, that's good.
And then that's a great idea for a TV show. Pimp my post. To go with the old folks like us, and the kids pimp our post.
And they do it.
And then my son, interestingly enough, he's a big fan of comedy, so he'll have these heart-to-heart moments where he's like, Daddy, I hope you're not offended by this.
but I just think that some of your content is a little bit too long, and you need to kind of, he'll give me instructions on how to make it more.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. And then I, having an ego, get a little offended. I go, no, buddy, listen, I've been doing this, and I know what you're saying. I appreciate you, but
we're not at the punchline yet, and this is the setup. And
it's a different world.
It's a totally different world, and depending on where you are, the rules are different. So, like, if you're on TikTok, everything they're saying is correct.
Yeah.
I don't even know what they're saying, but they're in tune. For Instagram or Facebook, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Nothing made my daughter more upset and kind of secretly excited than when I was verified on TikTok, because all of a sudden I crept into their world.
Oh yeah.
And then they were like, "You have a blue check mark? What the?"
Hilarious.
And then when am we should probably do something together.
Now you're their influencer. Hilarious. Yeah, my wife is very strict with all that. So my son's 13, and we hear of all these kids who get all caught up.
Yeah.
Already they're watching a lot of videos, but they're good kids. And so the kid, my son, he created his own TikTok page, and he kept it private.
Okay.
And he was making some videos for his friends. And it was all private.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, and I thought they were actually pretty funny, and he cut it pretty funny.
Nice.
But my wife goes, listen, it's still a non-starter. You can't be on, because she's afraid of who knows what predators are out there, and who knows, I don't know. I don't want you to get hooked to it. So now you go to his page, and it says, and under his name, because he still got the page, but he had to clear. He goes, I had to clear all my videos, or my mom said she'd kill me, or something like that.
Oh, that's good. He's funny.
I go, that's really funny. I go, well done.
That's really great.
Yeah.
I think that I think there's probably no avoiding it. I think it's almost like I tell this a lot, but my daughter, when she was like 3, just started climbing everything. And it was scary because, this little delicate thing, and she's climbing up stools and all this stuff, and we were constantly stopping her. And at a certain point, you realize us stopping, she's going to climb when you turn your back.
Yeah.
So she actually has to just get really good at climbing.
Yes.
She has to just be a great climber.
Yeah.
And not fall.
Yeah.
And it's the same, that metaphor for so many things through their years. It's like, all right, they're in social media. They've got to be good at it.
Yeah.
And they are. They are better at it. They kind of like sense like when things are phony. They know when things are creeps.
Yeah.
They just, of course, she can still fall off the stool.
Yeah.
But she's much better and much more savvy at social media than we are.
I totally told him, I said, listen, I will support you no matter what. And I said, I like the fact that you're being creative with it. So I said, when the timing is right, because obviously his mother right now is a little hesitant, but I go, when the timing is right, because part of it too is we all get hooked on it. Sometimes you're sitting around, you're not paying attention. I said, if we come up with a rule at the house where we say, when you come in, you put the phone down, or you get a half an hour, whatever that rule is, that'll help everybody.
Do you have that rule?
We haven't done it yet. But but for the most part, like we started saying at night when you go to sleep, we're going to take your phone out of the room so you don't end up, on the phone.
Yeah, and then they start hammering you.
Yeah,
they get clever.
Yeah,
I did that. I'm like, no phones in the room. I'm like, well, I need an alarm to wake up in the morning. All these kind of workarounds, and you're just like, all right, well, just don't talk to drug dealers. I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We have all these fears, but as you said, they are. I think they're smarter and they know it, and as long as you. Gosh, you can never. You can't avoid it 100% everything, right?
No.
So what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
I
know.
And you also don't want to be. You don't want your kid to be that weirdo either, who's never. Never seen a phone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The homeschooled kid.
Yeah, the homeschooled kid
who has no idea. Is just walking around with a Bible.
Oh God, exactly. You don't want your kid to be that guy.
No. Not at all.
Oh my God.
So when I was baking you this bread, I was, this is what I do, so you were going to get it either way. But then as I was heading over, and I always stop at this Italian market on my way, and I was like, Maz, the Iranian thing, do I stop at Carnival or one of these other places and bring him his bread?
Right.
But then I was like, I didn't know which way to go. I was like, would he be like, enough with my bread?
Yeah.
Give me something else, or is it part of the house? What happens in your home?
Yeah, so I'm married to an Indian woman, so we don't go either way. Like, she'll cook some curry type stuff sometimes, but we'll go to the Persian market and get. By the way, the Persian bread is different from the carousel. I think is Lebanese or Syrian or something.
Right,
so
Lebanese.
They have the Arab, like the pita.
Yeah.
We have these other bread that our breads are delicious.
Yeah.
There's one called berberi, which is kind of a thicker bread where you have it with like a feta goat cheese in the morning, which is kind of like, it's a little saltier.
What's the bread look like?
The bread is, so it's this, it comes long like this with rounded edges, and then it's got sesame sprinkled on top, and it's a little fluffy.
Ooh.
And when you toast it nice and crispy, you put in this salty cheese, the whatever that is, and then you get a tea and you sweeten that tea up, and it's just like, it's the perfect combination.
Name again?
That's called berberi. So what part of town do you live in?
I'm in Sherman Oaks.
Oh, Sherman Oaks. So there's stores there. If you look up Persian grocery store, you go there, you get that, or you get the other one, which is sangak, which is sang means rock, so or stone.
Right.
So they would cook it, but in the oven there'd be stones. So when they put it down, it gets texture. So now it's got layers. It's a lot thinner.
Okay.
And that's closer to the pita, but again, just delicious. And so
I'm so glad I didn't try.
Oh no. Yeah. You know what really? I did Padma Lakshmi. You know Padma Lakshmi, right?
No.
She's on Top Chef. She's one.
Oh,
of the,
yeah.
Yeah, she's an Indian woman.
She's amazing.
She did a show on Hulu called. Oh God, what was it called? I want to say United States of America. That's W. Kamau Bell. Anyway, It's about food on Hulu, and so she came to Westwood, and I was one of the guides through Westwood. She took Ali Wong to San Francisco.
Oh, nice.
But if you ever get a chance on Hulu to watch the whole thing, she goes to different places. It's really cool. You learn about foods, but you learn about Persian food on that one.
Oh, nice.
So check it out.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So but you don't cook it? You don't really have it in your home that often?
I'm not a big cook at all. Like,
right.
I want to cook. I just haven't leaned into it yet.
Right.
So really, when I cook, it's just pasta that I learned. I spent a year in Italy, so I learned to cook like pasta with tuna.
Right.
And then recently there was, we got one of those, the prepared, they send you the ingredients, and then
Right.
We did that, and it was actually pretty simple because they send you all the ingredients measured out.
Yeah, it is pretty easy.
And then it was delicious.
Yeah.
This is great.
Right.
But the Persian food, what we'll do is we'll go into Westwood or up in the valley. They've got a place called Rafi's Kebab in Glendale.
Oh yeah.
Or Daria in Westwood, and you get it's usually a rice base kebabs. I usually get chicken kebabs, but you get beef kebab. It's delicious. And then we have all these there's a topping like a broth. Like it's the best way to describe it. It's like Indian food, but not as spicy.
Right. Yeah. I had a friend in New York whose mom was Iranian and amazing cook. Like what's so great about that is like it's just baked in.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like just grandma cooking. But from someone that didn't grow up that way, like that food was the thing that was just able to be knocked off like in an hour. So like the rices and this, I mean, she would just bring like a Tupperware filled with this just the spices that were used. I mean, just insane.
It's some of the best food. I always say Anthony Bourdain, when he would do his shows, he actually ended up in Iran, and he said, first of all, I never thought this would be the most hospitable people I'd ever meet. Mm-hmm. And Iranians and Italians have a lot in common in their hospitality and their food. Yeah. And then there was this couple who did a book called 80 Diets Around the World, I think, and they were on NPR talking about it, and the guy goes, what was the best food? And one of them was like, I don't know, there were so many, and the other one goes, hands down Persian food.
Right.
And the flavors, again, it's just, we have pomegranates, we have saffron, it's just, it's really good food.
Yeah.
It's just heavy because of the rice. So like I'll get it, once a month or something.
Yeah. Who was cooking it when you were a kid? Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Northern California, Marin.
Okay.
So at any given point we had, my grandmother was living with us first. She would cook. Then my grandfather was living with us. And then my mom never cooked.
Oh, no?
Yeah, and then they always say you marry the woman who reminds you of your mom. So when I married my wife, she didn't cook. And then once we moved out, my mom started cooking, And then once we had kids, my wife started cooking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So now they both cook. Yeah.
And does your wife is it mostly Indian, or is it just cooking everything?
She'll mix it up. She's more concerned with healthy because, again, you have kids and, it's like every 5 seconds, it's like, can I have this chocolate? Can I have this ice cream? And me, I try to eat right, but I love sweets. So when they go, can we? I'm like, sure, let's go for it. I'm always like, why don't we go? We live near an ice cream, but we live near a Jenny's ice cream.
Oh God, yeah.
And a Salt and Straw down the block. So there's back to back. And quite often I'm sitting around at the house going, maybe we should go for ice cream. And now, though, I feel, in all honesty, like I sneak out and go get it for myself.
And leave the kids behind?
I leave the kids because I know my wife's going to get upset at me if I go, well, can I take the kids for ice cream? So I let her give them the treats when it's treat time.
That's great.
It's gotten to that.
That's hilarious. My wife is the ice cream one. She just loves ice cream, always has. So she, with the kids, there was no tapping the brakes.
No tapping.
No, she was like, anybody what? Using the kid, the opposite. She would use the kids as the excuse to go to Salt and Straw. Yeah, she'd be like, I don't know. Well, the kids want it.
It's great, because sometimes I sit there and I go, especially when it's a beautiful day, or it's like, I've realized my favorite time of day is dusk. Yeah. Because now we have a dog and we take the dog for a walk. Yeah. I just love that. When dusk hits, I either crave a drink. Or like a walk and then a drink, or an ice cream. Yep. I crave a treat. I think it's treat time.
It is treat time, and both of them have sugar.
That's sugar. That's what it is.
Yeah, we think it's just like, it's alcohol just to unwind. No, but it's sugar. Yeah. If you have sweets, then you don't think about the drink.
Absolutely. So there's been nights when I'll go, I don't want to have a drink, and you're right. I find myself in the little snack cabinet going like, hey babe, do we have anything sweet? You're absolutely right.
Yeah, we have a big freezer in the garage that Rogan gave me. He gave me this giant, when he moved, he gave me one of his freezers because I love all of his elk and all that stuff. And he's like, dude, I'm going to give you this freezer. So I have this giant freezer in my garage, and it's filled with all that stuff that he has. But it also, from Costco, I ordered a giant thing of ice cream, the thing that had just a variety pack. Yeah. So it's like visiting the ice cream man.
Oh, I love it.
I pull into the car, into the driveway, and that freezer is there, and that is the greatest test of willpower. Can I get from the car into the house without stopping and getting one of those things with the crunchies on it? So for over 50 years, Laithwaite's has been delivering wine the right way, from people who love making it to people who love drinking it. With a Laithwaite's wine subscription, you can say goodbye to boring, overpriced bottles and say bonjour to new wines from the hottest emerging wine regions around the world. This is one of those services that is just amazing. They taste over 40,000 wines a year, but only 600 make the cut. This is what you need in life. People, it's when you start, Maz and I were talking about we will be talking about, depending on where this falls in the middle of our show, when you think you know something, there's still so much more. Wine is such a vast, vast landscape. You need the help of someone like Laithwaite's. 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you don't love a wine for any reason, you let Laithwaite's know and you'll receive a refund. Members save on every subscription case they choose to take. Each box includes tasting notes, food pairing tips, and serving inspiration. So not only do you get the bottles, but you also get the story behind it. You get the winemaker's story that tells you what this would be good, what it will pair well with. So great. I actually have a box from Laithwaite's waiting for me at my home right now. I'm so excited. Okay, so now you can get 6 amazing bottles of wine plus 2 bonus bottles. This is a great introductory offer. And 2 stemless wine glasses for $49.99 plus tax with free delivery. All you have to do is text PAPA, P-A-P-A, to 64,000. 64,000, text the word PAPA, and you'll get this special offer. That's PAPA to 64,000. Terms apply. Available at laithwaites.com/terms. So you are going to get this beautiful, beautiful 6 bottles and 2 bonus bottles, 2 stemless wine glasses. If you love wine, if you know wine at all, if you even just walk through a wine section, you know for $49.99, that is an amazing deal. So thank you to our friends at Laithwaite's, helping you enjoy better wines. And Scribd. How many times are you struggling to figure out what kind of book or what kind of podcast or what to listen to? Well, now you can go to Scribd and you can get all of these suggestions of what to listen to. This is what I've been doing. I've been supplementing the books that I actually read. I'll have a hardbound copy of whatever I'm reading, and then listen to ebooks while I'm driving around, while I'm traveling on planes. Just throw it in there. And I used to think, is that really reading? I think I absorb it better when I'm listening to the book than when I'm actually reading it. I'm not that great of a reader, to be honest, especially with my eyes. I have to wear these giant glasses. If I don't have the proper amount of light shining on that book, it's a struggle. So I started listening to ebooks, and it's just so enjoyable. So now I'm getting 2 or 3 times the amount that I would normally, because someone else is doing the reading. I'm not getting distracted. I don't have my dogs and my wife yelling at me and all the rest of it. Not that she yells. She listens to the podcast. She hates when I say things like that, but it's true. So you can go to Scribd and you get all of these, millions of different books waiting for you. My two books, You're Doing Great and Other Reasons to Stay Alive, and Your Dad Stole My Rake and Other Family Dilemmas. Both of my books are on Scribd. How great is that? This is a great offer too, because right now you go to Scribd, that's SCRIBD, and they're offering our listeners free 60-day trial. So for 60 free days, you can't lose with this. You'll get to see, can you fit this into your life? Will you be listening to enough books? Start with both of mine. You'll hear my beautiful voice, and you get to try it for free. Go to try.scribd.com. That's try, T-R-Y, .D-O-T, Scribd, S-C-R-I-B-D. That's try.scribd.com/Papa for your free trial. That's try.scribd.com/Papa to get 60 days of Scribd for free. You will get all of these books, millions of ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, waiting for you, instant access to their entire library. It could not be more simple. No complicated credits or additional purchases necessary. Thank you to our friends at Scribd.
Well, I do. It's funny. I've been running a lot. I've been jogging, and so
you've lost weight.
Yeah, I think so. I've lost a few pounds, but the stomach is still kind of there, and that's because there were moments when I started caring about what I was eating more. I still do pretty well, but I was caring a little bit more about it. And now, though, when I run, as by mile 3 or 4, I'm thinking. The sugar, I'm like, what's my treat tonight? And I'm thinking, I feel good.
I earned it.
Yeah.
I deserve it.
Yeah.
How far do you run if you're at 3 and 4 thinking about it?
I'm at about I'll do 5 to 6 depending on when I want to go, and I'll listen to podcasts and just kind of put my head down and go. It's been great. That's
good.
There was this clip I saw during the lockdown, and this psychiatrist was talking about happiness versus pleasure. And he said how pleasure is all about, it gets your dopamine going, and then the neurons go, and then they die, and then the next day you need more and more and more. Drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever.
Right.
Happiness it triggers serotonin, and he said that has a longer life, and it's happiness. It's all the cliche stuff. Meditate, take a walk, be with your family, do the things you enjoy.
Exercise.
Right. So all of that. So I've been trying to lean into and appreciate that. So even if I'm running and by mile 2 or 3, my knees and ankles are hurting. Yeah. I just tell myself, I just keep going. You're gonna feel better. It's gonna be good, and it does.
Totally does. Yeah. I know. I felt shitty yesterday. I was just like. There's no reason. I didn't drink the night before. I ate well. I got good sleep, and I was just kind of cranky. Just walking to my office meh. And I knew, you have to not give. You can't get in a conversation with yourself. I just knew you got to get on the bike.
That's it.
You got to get on the bike and just keep moving towards it. Just start changing. I don't want to. And just keep changing. Get on the bike, and the rest of your day is better. after you do it. You completely forget even why you're in a good mood now.
Yeah.
I was a piece of garbage literally 3 hours earlier.
It's the simple stuff. And even if I go, I'm not going to run, I'll go, okay, well, the dog needs to walk. So let me just take the dog for a walk. And after that 20, 30-minute walk, I come back. And again, I go, okay, I got some steps in and I feel better. The air was nice. And the flowers. It's just, it's so simple.
It's so simple, but it's so easy to, do you feel like this town gets in the way of that?
I'm not sure if it's the town. I think it's the world we're living in, just in general.
Wherever we would go.
Wherever we would go. I mean, listen. Yeah, of course. If you were to, unplug and go live somewhere in the mountains or in the woods or something, and you'd wake up and you'd have to deal with the earth.
Yeah.
But we all, you go away sometimes and you think, I'm going to go do this, that, and the other, and you just lay in bed and you're not getting up. So part of it is just the world and the mentality, which is why, I look at I got a couple friends who are kind of, they're probably addicted to running or exercising.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something good to that because they're making themselves go. But now I'm trying to add to that this appreciation of everything. So the pandemic, the silver lining in the pandemic for me was watching movies with my kids and showing them things we wouldn't have watched.
Right.
Now I'm learning more and more. I mean, we're on autopilot, so when we're in town, we call the clubs, hey, I'm available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every night. And then they go, okay, come every night. And then after a while, I go, wait a minute, I haven't seen my family.
Yeah.
So then you start going, oh, you know what? I'm going to limit that a little bit and enjoy my evenings just being at home.
Yeah. I know. It really, coming back out of this thing for the last 2 years, really.
Yeah.
It really makes you realize, no, I gotta kind of call my own shots. I can call my own shots.
Yeah.
And be just as productive.
Yeah.
And just be, I shouldn't, that it was our thing. It's a weird thing that comedians had, that you just say yes to every single thing that happens.
Absolutely.
And before you know it, you just have every single minute there's no minute that's yours.
Exactly. And you feel like sometimes you think, well, my wife will be, she'll be tired anyway and the kids are going to sleep. But you know what? You're losing those nights of your life. So even the past few nights being home and for dinner and just sitting at the table, and maybe I don't even have anything really to talk about, but I go, well, how was your day? What'd you do? Just
being around.
Those things are great.
I know.
Conversation is great.
Yeah.
We don't do that as much, right? We sit somewhere and we start going on our phone.
Yeah.
But that's why, green rooms, I'm trying more and more to be in the green room and talk to the guy and, hey, what's your deal?
That's so interesting. I was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, why am I always showing up at the last minute? I mean, how many people would kill to be backstage with Mark Maron and Sherry Shepard and Liza Schlesinger? These are just the people that were there the other night.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would I just be at home or just waiting at the last second? It's go soak all of that in.
Yeah.
And it changes you too. You do become, you get more perspective, and there is stuff to it for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think I've taken that lesson to heart, though, now that I'm looking at my schedule. I leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's I'm pretty much gone every weekend till March.
Well, I've been, look, we had a year or so of pent up work that we didn't do. So we got to get out on the road.
Yeah.
But that said, so this week is the first week in a couple of weeks where I've decided to go out and get on local stages. But for a few weeks before, I was saying, since I'm going on the weekend, when I would come back home on Sunday, I said no avails the rest of the week, even if even if I had gigs at night, because sometimes the fear in the back of my head, which is not a real fear anymore, it was I might be rusty by next week. You're not rusty by next week.
After taking a year off.
Well, no, I'm saying once you go on the road, so you go, so I went to wherever, Florida or something. I did a weekend. And let's say the next week, I took the following weekend off. That whole week I didn't perform, and then I was in Vegas after this. So it was 2 weeks between, a little less than 2 weeks between the time I was up again. But it wasn't when I went to Vegas, it wasn't like I was rusty, because I just done 4 or 5 shows in Florida, and I'd done 4 or 5 shows the weekend before. I've been doing, so when you're out on the road, I'm saying you can take the week off when you're at home.
Right, but that's a new way of thinking. We didn't think that way for years.
Well, that's because when you first start stand-up comedy, they tell you get up as much as you can, write as much as you can. I still give that advice to everybody.
Yeah.
So if you tell me, I'm working on a special, I'd say, of course, Tom, you got to get up during the week. Right. But if you tell me, I'm touring now, and my wife and kids are at home, and also for yourself to be able to if it's a Wednesday night and you're leaving Thursday or Friday even, you might say, you know what, I want to stay home and have dinner and have a glass of wine with my wife or watch some program or whatever.
That's literally where I'm at today, literally right now, is that when we're done, and I go back home, I have no spot tonight and I travel tomorrow. That's a sweet spot. I have no plans. I'm just going to be padding around the house, throwing things in my bag. You know what I mean? That is such a sweet spot.
Because we also think we're missing things. So once the pandemic was, when things opened up, I was going hardcore with the local shows. So I was doing like 5-6 shows a night because all of a sudden there was new rooms and all this stuff. And I was there for like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. Then I started going on the road. And then while I'm on the road, of course, I follow the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory and whoever else. So I'll be on my phone and they'll be like, oh, lineup, Tom Papa, Mark Maron. And I'm going, I should have been there, man. I'm like, no, I'm working over here. I can't. So it's like, relax.
I know.
Just every time they go, Chappelle was here, I go, oh, I should have been there. To what end? What were they? What were they going to, take the stage with Chappelle and, what are we going to share? So I don't know.
I was thinking that last night on my way home from the store. I was like, oh, I forgot to take a picture. I'm always so bad about that because I just want to be with everybody and I never think to post. I'm like, I should go and just take 20 shots around the store and just have them in my phone. So whenever I can, I'll be like, oh, I just keep posting it. Just create your own reality. Why does it have to be literally in the moment?
That's funny.
What kind of wine do you drink when you're at home?
So I'm a big Cabernet guy, Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah.
And there's, speaking of what you were talking about, the gift, going back to your early thoughts of should I bring you the Persian stuff or the Italian stuff, if I find a Persian brand that I like of something, not that I'm seeking it out, but if I find something that's Persian, I tend to try to turn people onto it because it's not top of mind for everybody. So there's a winery in Napa called Dariush. Dariush Winery. This guy, he's in his, I think, mid-70s. He started it, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. He'd made his money, and I think he in markets down, supermarkets, down in LA. I think that's how he made his money. But he'd always wanted to have a winery. And because back in Iran, the city of Shiraz wine, right, which I think Shiraz wine is made out of, I think, Australia, but the name Shiraz, for whatever reason, it's also Syrah. Syrah and Shiraz is the same wine.
Gotcha.
But somehow the name, either they got grapes from there's something to do with Shiraz. But anyway, back in Shiraz, he said when he was a kid, he goes, his parents used to make wine in their garage. He goes, when I was 5 years old, I remember I would go and I would see these big vats, and I was too young to see what's in there. So he said I would take these rags, like a white rag, like a towel, and I'd throw it to the top, and the top was open, and it would catch some wine, and then I would suck on the wine. He's 5 years old.
That's great.
And then he said the parents would come in, they see all these rags all over the wine. They go, oh no, Dariush got into the wine again. So this guy's dream has been to have a winery.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so interestingly enough, towards the beginning of when he started the winery, I went to Napa and I was going to different wineries, Coppola and whatever else I'd heard.
Right.
And it's all very rustic and woodsy and all that's Napa.
Mesquite.
And then you go into Dariush. Now Dariush, Persians have the Persian Empire. It was called Persepolis. It was big columns, like Roman columns. You've seen how the Roman columns in Beverly Hills ruin nice houses because Persians would come and just put columns in the front.
Is that what it is?
Well, so that's what it is. That's the Persian columns. They call them the Persian mansions or something. So they would take these nice Beverly Hills homes and put columns.
I always thought it was Italians.
We have a lot in common, Maybe it's the Greeks, I don't know. But I went to Napa, and here I am, rustic, and then all of a sudden I see Persepolis, because the name Dariush in Persian history, he was a Persian king. He calls it Dariush wine. The guy's name is Dariush, and it's Dariush Winery. So he created the former palace or whatever. So you see columns, and at first I was like, oh no, columns in Napa. But then you go in and you taste the wine. You go, oh my God, this wine, because we were looking for a wine. I think we might even have gotten like reservations at French Laundry or something.
Oh, wow.
So we need a bottle. So we went to all these places and we ended up there. We're like, this is amazing wine.
Oh, yeah.
And then I've gone back since to become friends with them. And then I realized the beauty of the place. It's actually very beautiful. So now I'm on their mailing list. So I get like, 6 or 12 bottles every time. Next time I see you, I'm going to bring you Darius.
Yeah.
What's your favorite kind of wine?
Yeah, I've been recently, because it is always evolving, Barolos and Brunellos.
Yeah.
And then Châteauneuf-du-Pape in the south of France.
Yeah.
Those have been the ones I've been really heavily into, like over the last 2 years.
Yeah. I know all those, and I was actually just at an Italian restaurant. I tried the Barolo and the Brunello. It's delicious.
Man, oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just so surprising.
Yeah.
Like there's so much going on to them. And then you kind of like settle in with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so good.
Great book for you to read if you've read it. It's called Cork Dork. Have you heard of Cork Dork?
No.
Great book.
Oh, yeah?
This girl was a tech writer. And she said, you know what? I'm going to try and become a sommelier. I'll see what happens. So she becomes a cork dork. And so she dives deep into the world of sommeliers. And as you're reading it, it's so well written. It's funny.
Yeah.
She's finding herself at, I guess they have these big sommelier festivities where it's like, it's at some fancy place. In like in New York, and they go, everybody that comes has to bring a bottle. The bottle's got to be $250 and up or whatever.
Right.
And so she finds herself in all these different places, and then they talk about these sommeliers who can, they'll first of all, I'm sure you've heard of all this. I didn't really realize a lot of this stuff. The whole idea of like when you smell it, you get the fragrances, but then when you put it in your mouth, there's a like that little and then you do, when you do it, you actually taste it, because I was reading it and it goes, if you really want to know the taste, like what's in it, you go you slurp, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm tasting it back here.
It's working.
And there's these sommeliers that'll be like, they'll be like, okay, this is definitely old world, so now we're in Europe, right? And then it's this, that, and they point it all the way down, and I'm like, great. How do they do that?
How do they do it? I know. I've been educating myself on it, and just out of joy and just finding stuff out. And like when I was on the NPR show with Live from Here with Chris, he's like so deep into wine, and so I was like exploring all of his stuff, and he opened, and so I like, you feel like you're making progress and you have an understanding and a dialogue about it. And then last night I'm literally walking through Gelson's, which is a supermarket out here, and I walked through like the locked cabinet of wine, in the back that you can't just, they don't want the poor people just pawing through. And I was looking at it and I knew maybe 3 bottles. I mean, I was just like, I don't know anything. I'm back to feeling like I don't know anything.
I'm very limited. And my wife is funny. She'll tell me, she's like, you need to learn some more words to describe your wine. Because every time the guy comes, I go, listen, what do you have this full-bodied? Earthy, strong. And then the guy's like, I got this, that. I go, you got any Cabernet Sauvignon? I always go back to the cab.
I know.
Now I got, so this place is in my neighborhood, Larchmont Wine and Cheese.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a guy, the wine guy there. His name's Simon, this British guy, and I love the guy. I just always go in there and he's like, what are you looking for? And I go, $30 range. This, something, it's hot out, so you got maybe a rosé.
That's the best.
And he turned me on another. I'm not a big rosé guy, but he turned me on to this thing called Clos du Bélès, which comes in a thin blue bottle, and it's such a great crisp rosé, and I read about it, and the reason it's in the blue bottle is because it helps keep it cooler. Most rosés are in white.
Yeah.
This helps keep it cool. I just love all of it.
That when you find someone that really is into it, and they'll take the time to, that's the best. I had a guy off the 405 called 2020 Wines. It was like this gorgeous, like it looked like a warehouse on the outside, and inside was like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the final scene with wine. And it's just cool, and they've since kind of giving up the business, which is so upsetting. I walked in and there was like barren shelves. I was so upset because the guy there is so great, so knowledgeable, and he knows like you're not going to spend $400 on a bottle of wine. Like he'll show you the stuff that turns him on, that he will drink, and it's affordable, and just these rare finds from like Spain and Sicily, and I didn't have no clue about.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I'm all about, and I'm all about like following that. And as you said, even after all this time, there's like, you know, a handful of bottles that I know, and then for the most part, I don't know as much as I should.
I know,
because you really have to really be into it. So it's like
it's hard though. There's so much.
But I don't know what kind of person you are. Like I did a
sexy.
Besides sexy, I did a thing with Cristela Alonso where it was some podcast where they brought us on. They said, you tell us what you're an expert in. We'll bring an expert from that thing.
Oh.
And then you guys will kind of go head to head.
Kind of geek out on it.
So first of all, when they said that, I realized, I go, what am I an expert in? And I was like, gosh, you know, I love soccer, but I couldn't tell you soccer trivia. I love comedy. I couldn't even tell you comedy trivia. And I was like, I'm not an expert. And I said, the only thing I go, you know, maybe accents. Because I do pretty good accents.
Right.
So they brought somebody from that world. And then Cristela shows up, and she's one of these people who I think pays attention to details. So she was like, I mean, I've heard her nerd out about a lot of stuff, but she was like, Golden Girls. So they brought a Golden Girls expert, and Cristela was kicking her ass. She's like, what about when Ruth did the thing? And the girl's like, I don't remember that. Cristela. And I go, wow, there's some people that pay attention. I'll be reading a book and not know who the author is.
I know. Me too. 100%. I read all the time, and someone will be like, what are you reading? Oh, I'm reading The Orchard Keeper. Who wrote that?
No idea.
I'm on page 220.
No idea.
I don't know.
No idea. So that's the same with the wine stuff. I feel like maybe
are we dumb, or
is it geared for this stuff?
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it's just a different kind of brain. I mean, we got to give ourselves, like, we're good at something else that they're not.
We're good at we're good with Cristela's.
Your voice
funny
just went
too.
up.
So.
We're good at something.
No, I think that part of becoming a comedian was deflecting being really good at anything. You know what I'm saying? So you make fun of everything else because you go, hey, I'm the class clown. And they go, oh, you're not good at this. I know I'm not good at this because I'm about to, you know, I make fun of the fact that I'm going to
mock you.
I'm going to mock everything.
That's really interesting. That's pretty, that's pretty on the money. Because Chris Thiele, who's a brilliant musician, that's a math head.
Yeah.
Music is math.
Oh, yeah.
And so when he would talk about wines, it was like he'll go through the card catalog in his head.
Yeah.
And he remembers the years. He remembers that is the same as him understanding and memorizing compositions.
Yeah.
I'm not that head.
See, I was really good at math, and I think comedy is also math because you and I could sit in the back and watch like somebody else.
Yeah.
Especially people like you know, you have great jokes that somebody could sit there and be like, oh, you know, you kind of write on top of it, or you go, oh, this is like, you see the math of it. Chris Spencer is another one. Like some of these, sometimes you see the math of it, you know, or sometimes you go, oh, this is where I would go, and then the person goes there, you go, you know,
right.
So it's the math of it. But there's the people who, like, I collected baseball cards as a kid, but I don't recall if I like knew every statistic.
Right.
But there's people who are like albums, even comedy albums.
Yeah.
They'll be like, people will be like, oh, Richard Pryor's whatever. And I go, I bought the box set and I listened to it. I don't remember it all.
Well, it's a different thing. Like, we are more passionate. There's just a big gregarious love of these things.
Yeah.
Than it is getting into and your brain, you know, you're filled up. You're a dad, you're a husband, you've got all this stuff going on. It's hard. How much more stuff can you fit in your coconut?
By the way, I'm not beating myself up at all because I'll tell you why. As long as I know Dariush Cabernet,
yeah, right.
That's a conversation starter. I go, Dariush Cabernet is fantastic. Now I got my Clos du Bellès rosé.
Totally.
Prisoner wine. Everybody drinks Prisoner.
Right.
You've had the Prisoner
yeah,
blend.
Of course.
So there's a handful that I can throw into the conversation, and then if somebody goes, yeah, how about try this? I go, let me try. And then, you know.
And the reality is the number of people that know all of that stuff is so small.
Yeah.
So small.
Yeah.
The regular people, you should get a handful of things, a handful of dishes that your mom made, a handful of things that you can pull off.
Yeah.
You don't really need all of it.
It even goes to like sometimes when I'll like look at a menu and I go, I don't even know what these words are. You know, they'll be like, you know, fenugreek and I'm going, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And then you got to get the waiter over to explain it to you. And I go, wow, maybe I have a limited vocabulary. I just don't think I paid as much attention to details.
Me neither.
You know?
The detail thing for sure. I know. And I really, when we're in a restaurant and my wife, and bring up a certain kind of pasta and I don't know what it is, that's when I really feel like I'm a moron.
Yeah.
Like I should be the guy that knows all of these, and they'll throw it out, and I'll just lie. I'll just pretend. I'll be, oh, that's that curly one.
Yeah.
What? Which one? And then I'll change. Ooh, this looks good too.
Well, that's the worst when you order it. So that's the problem with wines, is because if it's by the glass, you can try it. But when it's not by the glass, and the guy's like, I would recommend it, and you go, oh God, do we do this?
Yeah.
And then they bring it, and then you're like, ugh, you know, like.
It's so hard when you see. We were out at an Italian restaurant, my wife and I, the other day, and she didn't feel like drinking what I was drinking, so we were going off, and she was going Prosecco, I was going red wine. And just to look at a glass of wine, it was a Barolo, for like $25.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
For one glass of wine.
Ridiculous.
And you're like, I should just get the bottle, but then we're not going to be able to get home.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, that's insane.
Well, I went up to Napa recently. My wife and I took a chance. It was our first like trip away after the pandemic. So we took the chance when our kids went to sleep away for us to go to Napa. And we went to like 3 or 4 wineries, and every winery I went to, one of them, again, one person, I did an interview in the Wine Spectator magazine. You should do this.
Oh, wow.
And I mentioned some wines, and then those people reached out. They were like, oh, thank you for mentioning us.
Wow, that's great.
And they were like, send me a case of wine.
Oh, that's the best.
And so this one was Chapelet Winery. Her name's Amy Chapelet, is the wife of the proprietor. And so they own it together.
Right.
But turns out she went to my high school, and she goes, hey, I used to go to your high school. So when you come visit. So we went up, it was great. But of course you're there. You're like, you know what? Put me on the subscription. So now I'm on their subscription. Then I went to another one called Cayman, and it was beautiful view. I go, give me a subscription. Now I got a lot of wines coming to the house.
It's the best.
It's crazy. So then I found there's a thing. I don't know if you've seen this. I forget what it's called right now. I'll tell you. I got to look it up. But there's this like thing where it's got a thin needle. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
and
so you can pour it by the glass. Goes through the cork.
Yeah.
Just do it by the glass.
Yeah.
I know.
I got that at the house now.
I do too.
It's great.
It's great. Until you start realizing I'm pretty close to finishing a bottle.
And then you just open it. Yeah.
And I've just used all of my nitrous to and then I kind of went off of it, and I'm like, I'm just going to open it up and go.
I know, it's like
it's really great. It's smart, especially if you have a nice bottle and no one else wants to drink with you.
Absolutely. And I was reading something because I was trying to read about it, and there was some wine taster who was saying, she goes, I live by this, because she goes, in my house I've got 10 different bottles that I've tapped into at different times. I'll have this one day, that one the other day, the other one the other day. I go, that's what it's for.
That's clever. Right. That is what it's for. But I'm just plowing through. Do you have a wine fridge? I brought you these candies, by the way.
Oh, I love it.
Have you ever had these?
Which one is this?
We grew up on these.
Is this a nougat?
This is, this is for these are Toroni.
So, I think Persians have a similar, honey nougat. We have the same thing.
You do?
We have a very similar thing, and ours, we actually, sometimes they package them, but the best way to have it is they put it in a powder.
A powder.
And they come like a circle like that big. And it's all inside this powder. You bring it out and you knock the powder off, and then you can crack them into little pieces and eat them.
Oh, really?
It's delicious. I got to bring you some Persian treats next time.
Yeah, definitely. In Little Italy, they would have this stuff like in a mound.
Yeah.
Just like, in a cart.
Yeah.
And you would ask for like by the a weight.
Yeah.
And then just crack it open.
Exactly. Yeah. Exact same thing.
Same thing. When
Italians and Persians got a lot in common.
A lot in common.
Good.
I know.
Yeah.
How are we?
We're good.
Oh yeah, we're almost there.
That's part of my thing about what I was saying. It's like, I didn't sleep well last night. Tossing and turning. I usually don't go to my phone. I said, let me just go to my phone. And it was already like close to 6. A little bit of phone thing, and then I'm like, all right, let me go back to sleep. And of course, the dog starts barking because my son's got to leave the house. I'm like, okay, dog's barking now. Maybe I'll get up for a second. Before I can even decide, then my daughter's up to go to school. So then I drop her off. And it's just become one after, so I got a little bit of work done. Then I did the interview with you. And then after this, I got to go take him to a soccer thing. And then from there, it's like stand up tonight. And it's amazing. It's like you take all these responsibilities. Because I was thinking, people who have office jobs, they got to have somebody picking these kids up the whole time.
I know. Exactly. We talk about that all the time. It's like, how if both parents are working full-time jobs, How do you like just small stuff?
Yeah.
Who goes and picks up the shirts?
Yeah.
Who does any of this stuff? It's amazing. It's
crazy.
So much work.
Yeah.
Whenever you wake up in the morning and you're like, I have nothing. I literally have nothing.
Oh, the best.
I don't even have a spot tonight.
Oh, the best.
Right?
It's the best.
Oh my God.
Because I'll tell you why. I also think living in LA, the weather is conducive to that kind of day. It's not like it's like wet and cold outside. You're like, oh crap. It's nice, and you go, you know what? I'm gonna go for a little walk.
Yep.
And then I live near, like I said, this place. So there's like good little coffee shops, and there's
it's great.
You know, they got great sandwiches at this place, and I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. Well, isn't that the thing though? Like when you're so busy and you've got this family, you're doing all this stuff. And I can tell just the way you're describing all your things that you enjoy to eat and drink.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like you're a kid anymore just eating whatever. It's like, these are the sweet spots. I'm going to go and make sure this one is good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But also, let me throw this at you. Even when you got those days where you're like, I got nothing. You get a text from your wife. She'll be like,
yeah, nothing is relative.
You got to get this, you got to get that, or I got to do this. And I'm like, oh, no. Like, we also have a rental property that we rent out. It was the first house that we bought. We held on to it, and the guy just moved out. So like,
you have all those chores of.
It's like, got to find someone to lay the tile, and then the this, and then
yeah.
And it's just like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed.
I know. Yeah, it's way too much. There was nothing worse than when I'm in my office. And I know I've got clear sailing, and then my wife comes in and says, "What do you got today?" Oh, she's gonna find out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be picking someone up at ballet.
Oh God, yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll have to do more of this. Let me know how your family likes the bread. I mean, it literally just came out, so you'll be able to. It'll be good for the next several days.
This is great because I was gonna, I don't know if you guys do this, but usually when we pick up the kids, we bring a treat. And I haven't had a chance to get a treat.
Oh.
And he's got the soccer thing. So I'm going to say, listen, I got you some fresh baked bread.
Well, I'm going to give you these also.
Oh, you're beautiful.
Can they eat candy?
They can. My son doesn't like nuts, but I'm going to eat all that.
All right.
Yeah, I love it.
You're going to take both of these home.
I'm taking. Thank you. You're the best.
You are the best.
Best podcast I've ever done.
No, thanks. And I literally want to listen back to this one because you dropped some names of stuff that I really want to.
I'm going to text
track
you.
down.
I'm going to text you the names of the things that you should look into.
Cool. Yeah.
And I'm going to bring you a bottle of Darius the next time our paths cross.
100%.
Because I got a subscription, I may as well bring you one.
Right. Exactly. All right. Great. Thanks, Maz.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, that's our big show. Thank you to Maz Jobrani, a good man. Make sure you check everything out on his social media and go see him live. He's a great guy. He's got a great podcast, but really seeing Maz Jobrani stand up live is what you should do. Look him up on social media and go see him live. Thank you to our friends at Scribd and Lathwaite for being the sponsor of today's show. Make sure you like and subscribe and tell your friends about this show. And again, give me all of your suggestions when I'm out on my family reunion tour. If I'm coming anywhere close to you, or a place where you used to live, or if you just know of a good spot where I can go find some more good baked goods. We're always on the hunt. So keep the communication going. Hit me up on social media at Tom Papa on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. You guys are the best. See you next time.